Have you ever wondered what happens when a person is pushed to the very edge of fear? When everything familiar suddenly disappears, leaving only darkness, the howling wind and spirits lurking in the night. I used to think I was strong, that war was just numbers, missions, takeoffs, and safe landings. But that night over the skies of Khe Sanh, everything changed forever. I was a B-52 pilot carrying a heavy mission on my shoulders in the midst of a blazing battlefield. That night, the sky seemed to swallow all light, leaving only the roar of engines and the tiny flashes of anti-aircraft fire below. I didn't know that just minutes later, my life would take a turn. I had never dared to imagine a direction where the line between reality and illusion, between life and death, between humanity and the unexplainable, would become thinner than ever. If you think war is only about gunfire, let me tell you what happened after my B-52 was shot down. Because there are fears that do not come from bombs and bullets, but from things hidden deep within the darkness, where reason cannot reach, and only survivors truly understand. I still remember vividly the moment the alert phone shrilled at 2:17 a.m. The cold, piercing ring sliced through my restless sleep like a knife scraping against my eardrum. I picked up the receiver, barely catching the hoarse voice of the duty officer. B-52 emergency takeoff. Khe Sanh. My heart thudded heavily. From that instant, an ordinary night twisted into a journey I had never dared to imagine. The briefing room glowed dimly under flickering fluorescent lights. The old projector whined, casting blood-red patches onto the map. When the colonel jabbed his pointer at the coordinates of Khe Sanh, his shadow stretched long and distorted across the wall like some free-roaming entity. The first strange moment, the loudspeaker suddenly crackled, emitting shrill signals that sounded like Morse code. Someone quickly turned down the volume, pretending nothing had happened. I glanced at my watch. The second hand had just swept past the number 13, even though the face only had 12 numbers. I blinked, and the hand was back at 10, as if it had never slipped into that impossible void. The Central Highlands night wind howled, carrying the scent of sea mist and scorched dust. My metal beast, the B-52, crouched on the concrete, its hulking body brooding like a cursed relic. The anti-collision lights swept slow, blood-red circles, glinting off the fuselage in streaks that looked like dried, cracked blood. I fastened my flight suit and walked along the garish runway lights. Suddenly, at the edge of the tarmac, I saw a figure in a black raincoat hood upstanding with their back to me. I raised my hand to signal, but in a blink, the figure vanished, leaving only the hood tumbling in the wind. I pretended not to notice, but cold sweat prickled down my neck, even though it was only 17 degrees Celsius. I climbed the ladder, the cockpit door snapping open with a dry clack. Inside, the weak green glow of the instruments barely lit the panels, which were covered in a fine layer of dust, strange, since they'd just been cleaned hours before. As I plugged in my headset, the radio hissed, then a whispering voice came through, slow and steady. "Turn back." My temples throbbed. I quickly switched to the backup frequency. The signal vanished as if it had never existed. The oil pressure gauge needle jumped, erratically vibrating in the red zone before settling back to normal. My co-pilot glanced at me, eyes wide with fear. His foot tapped a nervous, irregular rhythm on the metal floor. One by one, the four engines roared to life. The plane shuddered like a wild animal stretching after a long sleep. Outside, lightning flickered in the low clouds, revealing for a split second the cracked earth and a broken antenna tower jutting from the ground like a giant rib. The indicators trembled, shifting to amber. The fuel OVR warning light flashed, then went dark. HYD press blinked as if the control panel was trying to warn us of disaster in a language humans couldn't understand. Clear for takeoff. The order came through dry and clipped, but the pitch of the voice was strange, half female, half broken like an old radio. I pushed the throttle. The nose wheel screeched on the wet runway. Speed 150, 1 to 60, rotate. The ground fell away, runway lights shrinking into trembling streaks. Just a few hundred meters below, the night swallowed the fields, but I spotted flickering orange-red glows, anti-aircraft fire campfires. In a flash of lightning, I saw something in the rolling clouds, a shape twisted and elongated, clinging to the belly of the plane like a legless shadow. I blinked, the lightning vanished, leaving only darkness and the engine's howl. We climbed higher. The radar swept a green arc, suddenly picking up a human-shaped blip motionless in the clouds. Not a plane, not a flare. It slid across the screen for a second, then disappeared. I was about to call air traffic control when the radio crackled. On the emergency frequency, 121, 5 kHz, a single phrase came through, drawn out like tearing fabric. You shouldn't be here. In that moment, I wondered if the plane had just crossed some invisible boundary, the line between the world of the living and the realm of wandering souls. And then, far ahead, the Khe Sanh sky flared with a streak of fire. The night sky over Khe Sanh was a black ocean, endless and suffocating. The B-52 rumbled forward, slicing through clouds that seemed to close in tighter with every passing second. My hands gripped the yoke knuckles, white sweat beading beneath my gloves. The cockpit was filled with the low hum of instruments, the occasional crackle of static, and the shallow, anxious breaths of my crew. At 3,000 meters, the world below was invisible, swallowed by darkness and mist. For a moment, everything was eerily calm, too calm. The radar screen flickered, then went blank for a heartbeat. The only sound was the drone of the engines, but even that seemed to fade, replaced by a ringing in my ears, high and sharp, like a warning only I could hear. Suddenly, the temperature in the cockpit dropped. My breath fogged the visor. I glanced at the co-pilot. His lips moved, but no sound came out. The intercom hissed, then a voice, raspy, unfamiliar, whispered, "They're waiting for you." I spun around, but there was no one behind me. Without warning, a blinding flash erupted outside the left window. The plane lurched violently, metal shrieking as something tore through the wing. The world tilted. Alarms screamed, red lights flared across the control panel. I fought the yoke, but the B-52 bucked and shuddered, as if some invisible hand was wrenching it from the sky. Through the chaos, I caught a glimpse of the left engine engulfed in flames, spewing black smoke that twisted into grotesque shapes. For a split second, I thought I saw faces in the smoke, mouths open in silent screams, eyes wide with terror. The plane began to spiral. My crew shouted, their voices distorted, echoing as if we were underwater. The altimeter spun wildly. Outside, the clouds parted, revealing the jungle below, dark, writhing, alive. I tried to radio for help, but all I heard was static, then a chorus of whispers, overlapping chanting in a language I didn't understand. Suddenly, the cockpit lights flickered and died. We were plunged into darkness, save for the hellish glow of the burning wing. In that moment, time seemed to slow. I saw the navigator clutching his crucifix, eyes squeezed shut, lips moving in frantic prayer. The bombardier stared straight ahead, face-pale, tears streaming down his cheeks. A second explosion rocked the fuselage. The floor buckled beneath my feet. The emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in a sickly greenish hue. The air was thick with the stench of burning metal, and something else, something sweet and rotten like decaying flowers. The plane was falling now, nose down, engines screaming. I fumbled for the ejection handle, but my hand froze. For a heartbeat, I saw a shadowy figure standing at the end of the cockpit, its face-hidden arm outstretched as if beckoning me forward. The temperature plummeted. Frost crept across the inside of the glass. A voice, cold and hollow, whispered in my ear, "It's time." I yanked the ejection handle. The canopy blew off with a deafening roar, wind and fire tearing at my body. For a split second, as I was hurled into the void, I looked back at the B-52. Through the flames and smoke, I saw the shadowy figure still standing in the cockpit, watching me with empty, glowing eyes. Then the world exploded into darkness and silence. I tumbled through the night, the jungle rushing up to meet me, the whispers following me down, down, down. I jolted awake as my parachute snagged on ancient treetops. The sound of tearing fabric ripped through the night. Then a sharp pain exploded across my body as I crashed onto the cold, rotting leaves below. God, I'm still alive. My pulse thundered in my ears, blending with the earthy, pungent scent, a stench so strong it made me nauseous, as if the jungle itself had opened its jaws to swallow me whole. In the distance, the wreckage of the B-52 burned bright. Embers rained down on the night like a guilty meteor shower. For a moment, I saw the faces of my crewmates lost in the flames. A suffocating guilt squeezed my chest. I should have died with them. Before I could unbuckle my harness, a harsh whistle echoed through the forest. Even the insects fell silent. A chill ran down my spine like an invisible hand pulling back the veil between the living and the dead. A yellowed flashlight beam stabbed into my face. I instinctively recoiled, hand searching for my survival knife, but the cold steel of a gun pressed against my temple. My heart spasmed, my pulse chaotic. This is the end. Figures emerged from the jungle, as if rising from the earth itself. Camouflage leaves covered most of their faces, leaving only deep-set eyes, eyes that didn't burn with hatred, but with the coldness of those long accustomed to death. One man leaned in close, the sour stench of sweat mixing with mud and gunpowder. He inhaled deeply like a predator sizing up its prey, then twisted his mouth into a crooked grin. That smile with its yellow dirt-caked teeth made my stomach clench. Is this reality or a nightmare? A wet rope bit into my wrists. Warm liquid trickled down my palm. Blood not mine. I swallowed hard, my tongue dry as sandpaper. God, don't let me scream. They blindfolded me with a rough burlap strip. Absolute darkness engulfed me, but I saw everything: leafy arms brushing my neck, thick mud sucking at my boots, the faint crack of something brittle underfoot. Bones, or just twigs. Cold sweat trickled down my back, the smell of damp skin making me gag. When they shoved me to my knees before a rock face, the blindfold was ripped away. Lantern light danced, casting ghostly shadows on crude carvings, headless figures clutching their own bodies. I trembled. War never prepared me for this. The valley below was darker than the night itself. Sharpened bamboo fences jutted up like a demon's teeth. On the gate, a cracked wooden sign dangled bearing only 2 letters: BM. Someone whispered, "Bong Mu Blind Shadow." 2 short words like a sentence. They shoved me through the gate and I could feel my heart hammering in my chest. It wasn't just fear, my instincts screamed that I'd crossed into another world. The musty air mixed with wood smoke, undercut by the sharp scent of camphor, evoking memories of makeshift morgues. Is there any trace of the living here? A blackened bronze bell hung in the main hut. No one touched it yet. It trembled, emitting a low, hollow tone, as if echoing from the bottom of a well. The sound made my skin crawl. A call for spirits, or a signal for things unseen. My cell was barely big enough to curl up in. When the bamboo door slammed shut, darkness pressed in heavy as mud. I leaned against the cold wall, feeling my heart pound so hard my chest ached. Is this where I'll die? Through the bamboo slats I saw a row of doors marked in chalk. Number 4 was ajar, but inside was a thick, impenetrable shadow. Labored, ragged breathing drifted out like someone drowning. I rested my head on my knees, trying to calm myself. Stay silent if you want to live. Suddenly, noise erupted. The latch clicked. A short, stocky guard with a gray, lifeless face peered in. His breath reeked of damp rot. He set down a wooden bowl inside smooth stones floated in a thick black liquid that stank of iron. I gagged. He wants me to eat. Stones eat. Or, he said, his voice mechanical. I stared into his eyes, searching for a trace of humanity, but found only a void. He vanished. Then cracked the sound of bones breaking echoed from another cell, making my stomach twist. I have to escape no matter what. A pale dawn crept through the thatched roof. I woke with a start. Heart pounding. The bowl was gone. On the ground, only a damp circle remained, with a skeletal handprint clawed deep into the earth, as if someone had been dragged away. Who came in while I slept? Through the mist, the bronze bell swayed gently. Its hollow echo brought back memories of the burning cockpit and the whisper, "They're waiting for you." I clutched my head, fear burning in my chest. Stay sharp, don't let them break you. The second night, I was jolted awake by the sound of metal tapping on bone clack. Clack, clack. I pressed my eye to the bamboo slats. The corridor flickered with torchlight. Another prisoner, clothes in tatters, was dragged away, head covered by a sack. Behind him, a guard in a white ceramic mask. But his shadow on the wall had 2 heads. One head turned, staring straight at me. I shrank into the corner, heart pounding in my throat. A hallucination. I bit my lip until I tasted blood, the tang keeping me grounded. The torches went out. Darkness flooded through the slats, thick as blood mist. I burned with fever. In delirium, I was back in the cockpit. Smoke choked me. The faceless figure placed an icy hand on my shoulder. Choose live in fear or die forgotten. I jolted awake, drenched in sweat. On the wall, a line of charcoal letters, "Fear feeds them." My heart thudded hollowly like the bronze bell struck by no hand. Who are they? What fear are they feeding on? Dusk bled purple. Suddenly, my cell's latch fell to the ground. The screws spun, then lay still. The door creaked open, cold air rushing in, carrying the bell's slow toll dong. 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 I stood at the threshold, chest tight. If I stay, I'll rot in this darkness. But if I step out, it could be even worse. My breath rasped, but I heard my own voice whisper, "Whatever waits ahead, I must know the truth." I stepped into the pitch-black corridor, guided only by my heartbeat, and the bell's echo, not knowing if it would lead me to freedom or straight to hell. Bong, bong, bong. The bronze bell echoed through the dead of night, even though no one stood near it. I jolted upright, clutching my chest. No wind, no people, so what's ringing the bell? Did you hear that? The old prisoner in the next cell whispered through the wall. I heard. But why is it so cold? I stammered, my breath turning to mist. Each bell toll steals a bit of warmth from whoever listens. He replied with a crooked laugh. Suddenly the crickets outside began to chirp backwards. Re-chit. Chit. I shivered. Is time itself running in reverse here? The next morning, as we were herded into the yard, I pointed at the tin clock hanging on a post. Why is the second hand running backward? A young guard smirked. In here, you only get two choices: run backward or stand still. Am I being pulled backward too? The thought made my heart skip, as if it wanted to beat in reverse. The door to cell 4 slammed open. A guard shoved a young man inside his flight suit, torn. He looked around, desperate. Captain Miller. Has anyone seen Captain Miller? I froze. Miller. Who are you calling for? Miller is me. And you are... Blood rushed to my temples. But my captain died in the crash. I pressed him. When did you fall? I don't remember. Maybe I haven't fallen yet. He clutched his head, screaming, "Send me back to my own time." That night, cell 4 echoed with the sound of his head banging against the wall until dawn. Then silence. In the morning, the cell was empty, reeking of jet fuel. I grabbed a guard's sleeve. "Where's the man from last night?" He just shrugged. "There's never been anyone in cell 4. Did I just talk to a ghost?" The food storeroom was wide open, no guards in sight. A prisoner whispered, "The porridge is still hot. Hurry." I bent down to scoop some, then recoiled in horror. At the bottom of the ladle was a human eye, still wet. "Drop it!" I barked. Clang. The bowl shattered. Instantly, all the pots and ladles cracked, boiling furiously. Guards rushed in, hissing. "Told you not to eat before the souls are counted." I choked. Even souls have to be counted here. That night, gray ash fell thick as snow. It burned my skin. I shouted, "The ash is hot. Cover your faces." But the ash swirled into twisted symbols in the air, then vanished. A fellow prisoner whispered, "Those are the names of those who burned in the sky. Is my name already floating out there somewhere?" Bang bang, metal pounded on the well's lid. Khan and I pried up aboard. "Look down, there's something there." Khan trembled. Beneath the black water, a face appeared. Mine pale and lifeless, eyes empty. My double raised a hand, lips moving silently. I stumbled back. "Close it." "That's not me." The board slammed shut. Khan asked, panicked, "What did you see?" "Something that'll pull us down if we stare too long." My heart hammered. Next time I'm thirsty, will I even dare drink? Near midnight, a mournful song echoed through the camp. I pressed my ear to the wall. No one was singing yet. The melody filled every corner. The rhythm grew frantic, my muscles twitching in time. "Stop," I hissed, biting my lip until I tasted blood. The moment blood touched my tongue, the singing stopped. I gasped for air. Music of the unseen. At roll call, a guard suddenly shrieked, "Where's the door?" Where cell 4 had been, there was only a seamless bamboo wall. They slapped on leaf talismans, muttering prayers. I shuddered. Here, not just people, space itself can be erased. A gray-faced guard brought a mirror. "The colonel wants you to look." The mirror was pitch black, reflecting no firelight. I leaned in the darkness. Countless pinpricks of light formed a white mask. The mask slowly cracked, red eyes glaring at me. A force pulled my face toward the glass. I screamed, "Wait, I surrender." Just then, the bell outside tolled 3 times. The force vanished and I collapsed. The guard hurriedly wrapped the mirror in black cloth, muttering, "Not time yet. Not until 23:59. 23:59. What are they planning at that exact hour?" At dawn, the floor of my cell was streaked with fresh red writing. 23:59. When the bell tolls backwards 7 times. Open the north gate. Don't look back. I touched it, hot blood. The letters burned into my skin. I muttered, "Who left this? For me or for them?" Terror coiled inside me, but so did resolve before 23:59. I must escape through the north gate or vanish like cell 4. My heart pounded. I reminded myself, don't look back, and don't let the bell call my name again. I'd barely slept 10 minutes when everything suddenly collapsed. The black sky opened wide, swallowing the B-52 whole. I fell, falling endlessly. "Stop!" I screamed, my voice shattering in the wind. Below there was no ground, only countless gray hands reaching up, long fingers grasping at my ankles. A whisper echoed from the void. "Not yet. Keep falling." I jolted awake, my whole body trembling. The hourglass in my mind still ran backward. As soon as I closed my eyes, I found myself in the camp's bamboo hallway. But now the walls were made of flesh. Pulsing veins throbbed all around me. Underfoot, a pool of dark red liquid. I called out, "Is anyone there?" The echo replied, "No, but we are." The floor suddenly tilted. I slid, my back scraped raw by bamboo spikes turned to ribs. My face hit the ground, the metallic tang of blood flooding my lungs, making me retch. When I jerked upright, my throat still burned with blood, even though I was awake. I dreamed I was bound, the bronze bell hanging right above my head. Each bong tightened the ropes. A faceless guard leaned in. "Want to wake up, trade your flesh for it." I struggled, grabbing someone's hand beneath the floor. That hand clamped onto me, leaving a bruise shaped like the number 7 on my wrist. I woke with a start. The bruise was real, burning and purple. The sky tore open, a flare hanging in the clouds, illuminating me back in the pilot's seat. The plane had no engines, but instead of falling, it shot upward. Beneath me, the ground shriveled, turning into a black mirror. In the reflection, my double-grinned mouth splitting wide. "Will you choose to fall or fly backward?" I pulled the yoke, screaming, but the altimeter spun wildly, cackling. The mirror shattered, each shard reflecting a different way I could die. I woke up pillow-soaked. My heart beat in reverse, a jarring thud thump. I woke up in the dream, right in my cell. The wall was covered in carved time marks, 23:45, cold breath yawns, 23:52, heart skips backward, 23:56, wrist marked with 7, 23:59. I looked at the backward clock, the second hand raced toward 23:58. An invisible door swung open, wind blowing in gray ash, and a song in reverse. I pressed myself to the wall as the faceless figure appeared, holding out the black mirror. "Choose." One more time before the bell tolls 7 in reverse. I screamed, "Why me?" The mist around him whispered in dozens of voices. "Because you remember. Only those with memories can feed our hunger." I truly woke, the sky still dark. The number 7 bruise was still on my wrist, my shirt dusted with gray ash. The sound of the backward clock still echoed in my ears. I touched the floor. Last night's blood message was half smeared, now reading 23:59. 2 bells left. My heart pounded. So the dreams aren't parallel. They're pieces fitting together into reality. Shaking, I reached through the wall slats, whispering to the old prisoner. "How do I break the loop?" He answered, voice hoarse. "Some tried to blind themselves to forget. Died in silence. Will you choose to forget or to run?" I looked at the 7 on my wrist, remembered the black mirror, the burning ash with names. Blood rushed in my ears, my heart urging run. I will break the loop or shatter with the final bell. There are 2 backward bells left, and I, carrying all these deadly dreams, must decide if tonight is the last loop or the beginning of a blood-stained freedom. The second hand jerked backward to 23:58. I could hear my heart pounding against my sternum. Not thump-thump anymore, but a dry, erratic thud-thud like a broken drum. Stay calm, just 2 more chimes then. What life-death? I slipped out of my cell. The air in the corridor was so cold it burned my lungs. Every breath felt like inhaling ice. The torches on both sides burned with a strange blue flame, casting my shadow as a twisted smear crawling at my heels. Don't look at your own shadow. Don't let yourself scare yourself. At the end of the corridor, the bamboo vanished, replaced by a row of black mirrors fused together. My heart clenched in them. I saw every version of me dying. Me falling from the B-52 eyes rolled back. Me in the cell eye sockets hollowed out. Me standing in a minefield, skin-flayed bones gleaming white. I wanted to scream, but my throat locked up. Is this the future or the past being forced to rewind and fast forward? I slammed my fist into the mirror. A freezing shock shot up my arm, making my muscles seize. A whisper seeped from every surface. You've died many times already, only your memories haven't snapped yet. Goosebumps prickled my neck. My heart skipped a beat. If my memories snap, will I fall forever? A door behind the mirrors swung open. I stepped into a dusty archive, the stench of tanned leather mingling with dried blood. Human skin-bound ledgers stacked to the ceiling. I'd never seen anything so revolting in my life. My fingers trembled as I opened one. On the page, blurry negatives, records of the deaths of pilots, Marines, civilians, all with a number, effective, fear level. 87% cycles left to harvest. 6. Sweat stung my lips. They harvest fear like coal, burning it to feed. When I turned, he was right behind me. His uniform was immaculate, not a speck of dust, but the body inside, empty. 2 black eye sockets like gaping gates. I had to swallow hard to force out words. You keep me as a battery, don't you? His voice echoed straight into my skull, damp and suffocating as swamp mud. Yes, your panic-ridden memories reinforce the gate. When you're spent, we release you or refill you. My chest burned. They see me as fuel, no different from a napalm bomb stuffed with terror. The hand hit 23:59. Bong. The first chime. Gray ash swept in, crackling on my skin like acid. I clenched my teeth to keep from crying out. Second chime. The mirrors on the ceiling blazed, showing prisoners in their cells, screaming sound drilling into my eardrums like nails. Third chime. The colonel placed his icy hand on my forehead. You will be the 7th chime. Blood rushed to my temples, my ears rang. The final chime means dissolving into the loop, no way back. A trembling hand grabbed my sleeve, the old prisoner, his eyes milky and clouded. To escape, you must feed the bell of fear greater than your own. Whose fear? The one who started the ritual. The colonel. He pressed a shard of glass into my palm. Reflect the war into his eyes, make him taste the hell he created. I gripped the shard. Blood welled from my fingertips, but I didn't let go. Either he breaks or I shatter. Bong, the 4th chime. I raised the glass, its cold reflection shining into his empty sockets. Inside the Khe Sanh jungle exploded bodies of comrades, torn apart napalm flames licking flesh. He roared, "Stop!" His voice splintering into 1,000 shrieks. I felt myself trembling, but forced my feet to stay planted. Don't stop, rip off the mask, 5th chime. The guards' ceramic masks cracked. Their eyes wept ash and fire. I smelled burning hair, maybe my own, but I didn't care. 6th chime. The ceiling split open, revealing a black vortex swallowing the firelight. The colonel collapsed, flakes of ashen skin falling away. The final chime broke off into a scream, not from the bell, but from him. The camp walls crumbled to dust, revealing the north gate blazing with white light. White shadows, prisoners, soldiers' souls spiraled into the vortex screaming, but the wind devoured every sound. He lunged, hands closing around my throat. Cold flooded my chest, my vision dimmed. No, not yet. I mustered my strength, plunging the glass into his chest. His ashen body tore apart, scattering into gray rain. In that instant, the vortex paused. I felt another pull, a chance. I shouted at myself, "Run!" I dashed through the gate, burning ash, lashing my skin, my lungs ready to burst. Behind me, the bell shattered into 1,000 pieces, falling like metallic rain. I collapsed on damp earth. When I looked up, the prison camp was gone, only a ring of scorched ground, and a silence so deep it hurt my ears. The watch on my wrist was frozen at 23:59, the hands unmoving. My heart beat forward. I sobbed. The sound choked, a mix of relief and terror. Did I really escape? Or is this just another layer of the nightmare? On the horizon, a thin column of smoke rose, wreckage of the plane, or the remains of a memory I didn't know. But I knew one thing. Fear still clung to me like a scorched shadow, and if I ever faltered, the eighth chime, if it exists, would come for me again. I clutched my bruised wrist, the mark of 7, and whispered like a prayer. This time, let my memories outlast their hunger. I crawled out of the scorched ring of earth. The morning mist was tinged with gray ash. Not a single bird sang. The watch on my wrist was frozen at 23:59, its blank stare like the eyes of the dying, a reminder that at any moment the nightmare could rewind. Move. Don't stop. I ordered myself, pushing through the blood-stained jungle leaves. Every heartbeat pounded in my temples, burning hot, ready to explode. On the carpet of dead leaves, a line of military bootprints led north toward the thin column of smoke I'd seen. I stopped, realizing those prints were my own, the tread, the depth, even the mud caked on the edge of the sole. Wait, I just started walking. How are my prints already here? My breath froze. I placed my foot over one. It fit perfectly. My heart skipped a sense that someone had fast-forwarded my life, making me walk in the path of my own future. The distant whir of rotors. A UH-1 helicopter swooped down, landing in a charred clearing. 2 American soldiers jumped out, waving, "Captain, we've been tracking your beacon." I was dizzy with relief. But then I saw under their helmets, they had no faces, just smooth, blank skin. Both spoke in my exact voice, perfectly, chillingly. I stumbled back, shouting, "Who are you?" One soldier reached out a fingernail-less hand, touching my watch. Still 23:59. You can't leave the frequency yet. The rotor wash whipped up the ash, and the helicopter vanished like an old film flickering out. I collapsed, chest tight. This isn't the real world, just a new, more cunning layer of illusion. By late afternoon, I found a ramshackle wooden outpost. The shutters creaked in the wind. Inside, broken radios and cracked transmitters lay scattered. A cloudy mirror hung crooked on the wall, a normal mirror, not black. I looked into it. For the first time in days, my reflection was clear. Stubbled face, bloodshot eyes, the number 7 bruised on my wrist. I wept with relief. Maybe this is finally real. The moment my tears fell, the second hand on my watch ticked 00. A faint bell chimed a single note. I spun around. In the mirror behind me stood the ashen colonel, though the room was empty. He whispered through the reflection, "There is no 8th chime, only a new cycle." I smashed the mirror and ran outside. The sky had gone dark, sunset ripped away, skipping the entire afternoon. The watch jumped back to 23:53. Time had reset to just before the ritual, but the setting had changed. I'm not escaping hell. I'm just changing its stage. I remembered the old prisoner's words, "The bell must be fed a fear greater than war." What's greater than war? The thought struck. I drew my survival knife and slashed deep into the bruise, carving the symbol. The white-hot pain shot straight to my brain. Every memory, family, comrades, the B-52's fall. The colonel's face poured into the cut, dripping onto the earth like ink. The ground trembled. A bong sounded, not the bronze bell, but my own heart flipping in my chest. The air tore open between 2 trees, revealing a void of pure black. I screamed, "Take all my fear." But I'm taking my memories with me. I leapt through the rift. No ash, no bell, only silence. I woke up in a US field hospital. The doctor said they'd found me unconscious near Hill 881, not far from Khe Sanh, 2 days after the B-52 went down. No one had heard of any prison camp, let alone a prisoner exchange. I laughed, thinking I was safe. But that night, when they unwrapped my wrist beneath the dried bandage, was the fresh carving of... And on the table beside my bed, a pocket watch, one I'd never owned, was ticking backward to 23:58. The doctor returned and asked, "Are you all right, Captain?" The EKG monitor suddenly went thud-thud, thud-thud like a broken drum. I looked up and saw the doctor's eyes. Empty, pitch black. The new cycle had begun. If you found this story valuable and interesting, please hit the like button. This really helps us bring you more good and valuable content. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think, what questions you have, or what topics you would like us to cover next. We love hearing from you. Of course, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our next stories. Thank you for taking the time to read my stories.